What if your life never changes? Because you never change how you live it. Have you ever wondered why things just stay the same? You try, you hope, you wait. But day after day, nothing really shifts. You feel stuck, you feel tired, and maybe you even begin to think, maybe this is just it. But what if the reason your life isn't changing is because you're doing the same things over and over? Not because you're lazy, not because you don't care, but simply because you haven't been taught how to change, gently, honestly, and in a way that feels doable. That's what today's episode is all about. We're going to explore this simple truth. Nothing changes if you do nothing new. But this isn't about making big dramatic changes. It's about quiet, steady shifts, tiny actions, new ways of thinking. I'll walk with you through it, from understanding your habits, to breaking old patterns, to trying something fresh, even if it feels scary. And by the end of this episode, my hope is that you'll have a new kind of energy, the kind that comes when you stop waiting and start choosing. Why do we expect different results while doing the same things? It's such a human thing, isn't it? Wanting something better, but still doing what we've always done. We hope things will magically be different next week, next year, someday, even though we're living the same way we always have. We use the same routines. We think the same thoughts. We avoid the same fears. And then we wonder why we still feel stuck. But if nothing changes, how can anything change? It's like planting the same seed and expecting a different flower. At some point, we have to realize the only way out of the old is through the new. And new doesn't mean perfect. It doesn't mean scary. It just means different. Today, we'll explore why we repeat patterns and, more importantly, how to step out of them. Slowly, kindly, and with full permission to try again, even if you fall back sometimes. What keeps us doing the same thing, even when we don't want to? So, let's be real. If you know something isn't working, why do you keep doing it? Why do any of us? One big reason is comfort. Even if a routine isn't helpful, it feels familiar. And familiar feels safe. You know what to expect. You know how it ends. And sometimes we choose the familiar struggle over the unknown possibility. Another reason is habit. The brain loves patterns. It wants to save energy. So if you've always scrolled on your phone when you're stressed, or skipped the hard tasks when you feel overwhelmed, your brain will go there again. It's not about willpower, it's about wiring. But here's the good news. Patterns can change. And you don't have to change everything all at once. You just need one new move, one small shift, one new path to walk, again and again, until your brain starts to follow it naturally. You're not broken. You're just practiced. And with new practice, you'll see new change. What does doing something new actually look like? When I say do something new, I don't mean move across the world or start a business overnight. I mean pause before you react. Choose to breathe instead of panic. Write something down instead of holding it all in your head. Take a short walk when your thoughts start to spiral. Ask a new question. Try a different bedtime. Speak to yourself in a softer voice. These are tiny new choices, but they lead to huge results. Why? Because each one tells your brain, hey, we're not stuck. We can do this differently. That's how change begins. Not with big declarations, but with quiet moments of courage. And the more you practice doing something new, even something small, the easier it becomes to believe that you can live in a new way. Why small changes matter more than big ones. We often wait for the perfect time to make a big change. We think, once I have more time, more energy, more confidence, then I'll finally do it. But real change doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It begins in the messy middle, in the middle of your regular life. Small changes are powerful because they're sustainable. They're less scary, more doable, and easier to repeat. Want to read more? Start with 5 minutes, not 5 chapters. Want to be healthier? Add 1 glass of water, not a full gym routine. Want to stop procrastinating? Just start the task for 2 minutes. These small things add up. They rewire your brain. They give you proof. I can do this. And the more proof you collect, the more your identity starts to shift. Suddenly, you're not the person who's always stuck. You're the person who's growing. And that is life-changing. What happens when we try something new and it doesn't work? Ah, yes, the fear of failure. It stops so many of us. You finally gather the courage to try something new, and it doesn't go how you hoped. Maybe you couldn't keep the habit. Maybe it felt weird or awkward. Maybe someone judged you. And you think, see? I knew I couldn't do it. But here's the thing. Failure is part of the process. You are learning, experimenting, testing. And guess what? That's progress. Trying something new isn't about getting it right the first time. It's about becoming someone who tries. And when something doesn't work, that's information. It's your brain saying, okay, that path didn't lead where I hoped. Let's try another. You're not starting over. You're starting wiser. So don't fear the missteps. Learn from them. Laugh if you can. And remember, falling down doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're moving. What's the difference between change and transformation? Let's talk about this. Change is doing something differently. Transformation is becoming someone different. Change is the action. Transformation is the identity shift that follows. You start walking for 10 minutes a day. That's change. But over time, you begin to see yourself as someone who takes care of themselves. That's transformation. And here's the beautiful thing. Transformation always begins with change, even the smallest one. You don't need a complete personality makeover. You just need to begin showing up, again and again, for the person you want to become. Each small change adds to the story. Each repeated action builds the identity. So if you want transformation, don't wait for it to arrive fully formed. Grow it. One quiet change at a time. How to make new things feel less scary. Let's be honest, doing something new feels scary, even if it's small. Why? Because your brain is wired to avoid uncertainty. It doesn't know what's on the other side of that new action, so it sounds the alarm. This is risky, let's go back. That's normal, but here's a trick. Lower the pressure. Start tiny. Think of it like dipping your toe in cold water. You don't jump in right away. You ease in. You get used to it. You realize, oh, this isn't so bad. That's how you train your nervous system to feel safe with change. You show it, gently and repeatedly, that new doesn't mean danger. It just means growth. And the more you do this, the braver you become. Not because fear disappears, but because you get stronger at feeling it and moving anyway. What are you avoiding? That might actually change your life. Pause here for a moment. Think gently. What's one thing you've been avoiding? Not because it's impossible, but because it's unfamiliar. Maybe it's asking for help. Maybe it's waking up earlier. Maybe it's finally saying no to something that drains you. These things feel uncomfortable, but they might just be the key to the life you're waiting for. Sometimes the door to a better life is hidden behind the one thing you keep walking past. So today I invite you, lovingly, to turn toward it. You don't have to run in. Just face it. Acknowledge it. Get curious. And take one small step toward it. You might be surprised how different life starts to feel, just from doing one new thing that you once thought you couldn't. What could happen if you chose something new today? So here we are, at the end of this episode, but maybe the beginning of something else. Something real. Something new. You've heard the phrase, nothing changes if you do nothing new. And now, I hope you feel it. You understand it. You believe it. Not in a harsh way, but in a hopeful one. Change doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be honest. One new thought, one new word, one new action. That's all it takes to begin. So what will you choose today? Not next month, not someday, but today. Because your life is not waiting for luck. It's waiting for you. You are the change. You are the new. And you don't have to do it all at once. You just have to begin. I'm proud of you. Truly. And I'll be right here, cheering you on every step of the way.